Whoa, 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 whoa.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Camden ADHD. If you have not yet done so, please press that beautiful subscribe button down below so that you never have to miss another episode. Guys, you will not believe where I recorded today's podcast. You're going to listen to it and know exactly right away, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I recorded it in my bathroom, putting my makeup on, getting ready for the day, because guess what? I still have an ADHD brain, and I knew that if I didn't start talking, that all these incredible insights that I was learning and rolling around between my ears would get lost. And I didn't have time to write it down, so I just opened up my voice memo, and this is what you got. This is me, mom of three, here and there, on the go, getting things done. I hope that you enjoy it. Hope you have a blessed day. Let's go. This is probably going to be really echoey because I'm actually in my bathroom getting ready for the day. Happy Monday. If it's not Monday, happy whatever day it is to you. I've been thinking a lot about why so many people, as they get a little bit older, as they graduate from college or whatever, get out of school, why so many of us with ADHD really have a hard time adulting. There's a million reasons, but one of the clearest ways that I've been able to identify this process, I've talked a little bit about in the past, but is our need for structure, but our actual nature of loathing structure. And what I mean is, we are free spirits. Many times we're creative, we're artists, we think outside of the box a lot of the time. We don't like to be tied down to one idea or one thing. Our mind is constantly going from one side to the other. I mean, the very fact that I'm like putting my makeup on while I'm talking to you, doing this podcast should be room enough that I'm like, you know what? It's on my brain. I'm just going to talk about it while it is. And I need to multitask because I got to get ready for the day. I'm a mom of three little girls, and my time is very limited as to when I have free time. I have a daughter downstairs right now playing, and while she's still there and occupied, I am going to take advantage of this and the silence. So while we're going through school, while we're living at home, while we're growing up, as kids, if we grew up in a somewhat functional family, there were rules and regulations, there were different parameters that we were asked to live by in our life. We had assignments in school, we had deadlines, we were asked to do things in groups, we were asked to get to know people or place in social situations for the very sake of the fact that, well, we have to go to an educational system. And if you're homeschooled, same thing goes. Your homeschool teacher also had rules and regulations and ways and deadlines. And while there was a little bit less stringency, you were still given deadlines. I've used deadlines like 5 times. You were still given benchmarks in your progress toward your education, toward graduation, or a completion of a course in class. And what happens is when we become adults, or when we go away to college, sometimes that's when it's really clear, is that all of those things are taken away to a respect. You know, mom's not going to ask you, hey, did you finish your assignment? Or, hey, how's statistics going? Tell me about your paper that's due at the end of the month. You don't have teachers that are really going to check up on you that way either. I was an elementary school teacher for a number of years, and we do. I mean, occasionally we like to check in with our students, and if we're not going to class, because nobody knows we're going to class when we get to college, there's not like a teacher that's going to call us and be like, hey, you weren't in class today. That's not how it works. So then we become the person that has to regulate our behavior and set our own parameters. And that becomes a little tricky. So if you have not been taught responsibility earlier in your life, all of a sudden you're given this freedom of responsibility that is tied to a lot of usually student loans and debt that you're going to have to make up for at some point in your life. Now, for me, for example, I left college right after my senior year, left to college. I moved from San Diego to Utah and pursued my education. And because I didn't know I had ADHD, I had actually, I had incredible parents that advocated for me in very big ways and trusted me. I was a very trustworthy kid. I worked really, really hard, and what I learned from me is that hard work pays off. Hard work and a lot of heart and a lot of perspective and a lot of patience eventually will pay off. Maybe not in the same way that it did for my peers, but in a way that will lead to success. And so when I got to college, I was already very responsible. I knew for myself that if I didn't study 3 times as hard, I would not pass. And even when I did study 3 times as hard, I still didn't pass. But that there wasn't really a choice. And so I actually chose 8 a.m. classes every semester because it would get me up and ready and going for the day. It was just one of the things that I did. So I actually eventually made it through college. It was a long haul. Started college in 2001 and eventually graduated, I think, in 2007. There was 18 months that I was serving a mission for my church in there, and got married, and I changed my major 3 times. But we did it. I made it, and all my student loans are paid off now. Hallelujah. They were paid off a couple years ago. My parents could not financially support me, so it was, me and my husband paying those off. So a lot of us graduate college and start, family life, and the exact same thing happens. Now all of a sudden we're in charge of a family, and no one's telling us how to be in charge of a family. And so, or our single life. And we're like, okay, well, I know I can go to work. Or I know I need to get my kids dressed every day. That seems like a logical thing to do. And eventually they're going to need to go to school and everything. But without deadlines and parameters and rules and steps that we take toward a progression, we naturally don't always do it for ourselves, and so we stop progressing. I have been writing these love notes to my husband up on our mirror on Post-it notes. They're like a sentence long. They're not a big deal, but I'm just kind of counting back. We've been married 12 years. I'm counting, started out 2007 when we were married, and then just kind of highlighting something that I can remember that happened in that year. And my husband and I, a couple days ago, were having a conversation about bettering our life and why it's more challenging now than it was when we were younger and early, married. And it just kind of came to me. I'm like, well, because nobody's telling us how we need to do that. There's not anyone saying, hey, you need to go take this class, or you need to do these things in order to earn this degree. And then when you have this degree, then you can do this kind of job. And with this kind of job, you can do X, Y, and Z. There's not any of that progress. The progress is now 100% in our own hands. So I hope that maybe some of you guys can relate with this and start to take control of your future. You recognize that if you don't do anything, then nothing will be done. So it's really difficult for us to slow down, but something that I tell myself every day is I need to put my situation or life into slow motion, as though I have a dial in front of me, and if I turn that dial to the right, it's going to fast forward, and if I turn that dial to the left, it's going to slow down. That time, and now I'm breathing more deeply. And while my brain is still working really fast, I'm picturing myself turning that dial to the left and just slowing it down so that I can take the time to really meditate upon what I want to accomplish. Okay, that means writing a list or writing one thing or drawing something on a piece of paper where I see myself in 10 years. And then thinking, what can I do today? Just one thing that might help me get there. And this is where I truly believe in life coaching. This is where I think that this is an incredible point to bring up for life coaching. I was talking with someone this past weekend. His name is Amen, and he lives in France, and he is doing an amazing movement for ADHDers that he's called ADHDers. And he said that life coaches and ADHD coaches out there get a bad rap. And I'm like, I have not seen that yet, and boo-hoo to those people, because they don't know what they're missing. These coaches, if you can find your right coach, they are going to help you so much, you guys. Not all coaches are treated the same, just the same way that not all educators are treated the same. I just barely had a terrible experience with some educators, and I'm like, are you kidding me? But once you find the right coach for you, they can be so monumental, because now you have somebody to what? Set parameters with. They wouldn't say that, but you have somebody that you can go back and report to. You have somebody that's going to help kind of steer you in the right direction and help you set some goals that, spread right in front of you toward your goal, toward your long-term goals and where you see yourself. And you have a support system. So many of us think that we can do it all by ourselves, but we can't even think about what socks we want to wear for the day in our brain, let alone setting ourselves up for the future. So my journey, I think I would say started maybe last fall. So that would be, what are we in? February? I don't know when you're listening to this. Let's see, November, December, January, February, 16 months ago or so is when I was really introduced to personal development and when I started to take it seriously. But I have not taken it seriously like I have lately in the past 2 months. This is a whole new ball game, because what I've realized is without structure, I am going to choose to not do. When I pretend like everything is all in my control and I can make the rules, and my rules are no rules, well, I am setting myself up for no progress. I don't know if that's necessarily failure, but I'm just telling myself and telling my future that whatever is going to happen is going to happen, and well, we're just kind of good enough. And I do not believe that. I have definite ambitions and very, very clear path of what I want to accomplish in the next months, years, and decade. So for me, I do not have a specific life coach yet, but because I am very self-motivated, I am that girl that got herself up at 8 o'clock in the morning and put herself to bed by 1:30 when everyone else is up and partying. I just have a little bit more responsibility that I've developed over the years. My life coaching has been through podcasts, been through research, and I'm really excited to someday land on a life coach that resonates with me. So that was a total ADHD moment. We got to bring it all back and all together here. Find a way to have structure. Find a way to choose for yourself to have an outline, to have a schedule. Your brain will thank you. Our brain tells us constantly that we do not need structure and that we cannot sit down and even take time to figure out what that's going to be. For me, it's taken me 4 months to figure out what my schedule should be. And that's okay. It can change. It can totally change. I was going to the gym at 9 o'clock in the morning because my husband goes at 5:45. And then I would teach classes, and I'd be done with classes at 6, and then I'd start to work. And then we get the kids ready and off, and then I go at 9. But man, when you've been up since 3:45 every morning, 9 o'clock seems like the middle of the day. And so we needed to make some adjustments. So now my husband leaves a few minutes early, and I leave right after my classes, after I've done a couple posts, and now I am ready to go, and it is 10 till 9. So instead of going to the gym, I am now ready to go to my life. And that has made a huge difference. Well, it took me 4 months to figure that out, and that's okay. So being flexible with yourself in that journey has been great, but I can't tell you the difference of waking up and knowing exactly what I'm going to be doing every day until my kids come home from school at about 11. It has been amazing, and I'm still trying to work out my afternoons now. I got my evenings taken care of too with my husband, so that is a major, major plus. So find some ways to be structured. Look for some handy tips coming out on my Instagram and my TikToks, and my other podcasts when I'm interviewing people that are going to help with all of this. I hope you guys are having a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you for being with me today. Sorry about the echo. Like I said, I'm in my bathroom. Now my makeup is done, my hair is brushed, my clothes are on, and ready to take on the day. You guys remember that you can and you will. Just like I said. I'm glad that you joined me today. Remember to subscribe to this channel and share it, guys. Share something about it on your social media, on your Instagram, on one of your stories. The more people this gets out to, the more we can normalize ADHD and help people recognize that they truly are not alone and that there are ways to succeed. There are ways to take a look at our life and to make it more manageable. Just like I always end every single podcast, I want you to be sure that I know that you can and you will.